Assalamualaikum and konnichiwa. Thank you for joining today's episode of Academy Speaking with me, Azalia. And in today's episode, I will be sharing with you my experience as a part-time translator and interpreter here in Japan. Now, when you know more than two languages, people will quickly assume that you are able to translate or interpret for them. But people who are in the line of work will definitely tell you that it takes more than knowing two languages to be a good interpreter or translator. You definitely need skill and you need a lot of practice in order to be good at it. You don't need any official qualifications in order to be a good translator or interpreter. However, if you do have any professional certification, if you took a interpreting course or a translating course, then this will definitely help you when trying to get jobs in more official positions. So for me, I was really into translation after my degree, and so I took my MA, my Master of Arts in Translation. I did it at University Science Malaysia, USM, and the reason why I really enjoyed the course was because you can finish it in just 1 year for full coursework. So really good, and quickly we'll be able to finish it. The reason why taking interpretation and translation courses can be more helpful even to the interpreter themselves is because it really teaches you the tact and the skill or the etiquette of how to be a translator, because a translator or interpreter who is inexperienced will do a lot of rookie mistakes that can actually end up being quite detrimental in some cases, because of course, as we all know, translation and interpretation is all about communication between two parties, and if you are not able to efficiently communicate the two parties into getting to the agreement or getting their points across, then it's just going to be, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Another point to consider when becoming a translator or interpreter is the emotional toll. Now, because you are the middleman, if you are inexperienced, it is very easy to feel like you are the one who is being interrogated, or you are the one who is being questioned, or communicating for these two parties, and it can get a bit personal sometimes if you're not used to it. Even for myself, during my first official job interpreting, I did feel very nervous, and I did feel like as if I was the one who was being talked to when in reality you are just the medium, and you're just supposed to be invisible and just be a machine and let the two parties talk it out, and it's between them and you are not involved. You are just the middleman. So being an interpreter and translator in Japan, the language that I'm frequently asked to translate or interpret to is actually, of course, Malay. Now, usually they will try to find a native speaker of the country of the language in order to facilitate with the translation or interpretation. And that's why there are a lot of English to Japanese translation jobs here. But of course, mostly they will look for English native speakers. But especially for Malaysians, they do recognize that we have something like Manglish, and it can be difficult to decipher. And in times like that, then they'll find interpreters from Malaysia who can do English, Malay, and do it in Japanese as well. When it comes to difficulty, other than just the skill and experience that the interpreter or translator has, it also has a lot to do with the language that you are translating or interpreting to. Especially as a linguist, I guess this is the part that I kind of like the most. Is it really like the most? I don't know. But what it means is that the language structure, the more similar the languages are, the easier it is to facilitate the translation or interpretation. So for example, let's take English and Malay. They are quite similar when it comes to their SVO sequence. For example, Ali makan nasi. Ali subject, makan verb, object, nasi. And in English it's the same. Ali eats rice. So subject, verb, object. so it's quite easy to facilitate that. However, for languages that have a different subject verb object sequence like Japanese, which is the object comes in front of the verb, which so in this sense will be Ali gohan wo tabemashita, Ali gohan wo tabemasu. So gohan is rice, tabemasu is eat, so it becomes Ali rice eat. In that case, it can be quite tricky sometimes if you're not used to it, especially when it comes to simultaneous interpretation where you are immediately translating or interpreting right after the person is talking or at the same time as the person is talking. So yeah, it can be quite tricky if you're not used to it, and quite tricky for the difference in languages. Another point that I think determines the difficulty of translating or interpreting between languages is the nature of the language, if I'd say it in my own words. For example, if you were to translate from English or Malay to Japanese, right? So let's say, apa khabar, sihat tak? How are you? How are you doing? How's it going? So all of these phrases, apa khabar, sihat tak, and all that, you can all express that in one Japanese term, which is o genki desu ka? So it doesn't matter if you're saying apa khabar, it's still o genki desu ka? Sihat tak? O genki desu ka? How are you? O genki desu ka? You know, it's easier that way because it's all in that one phrase. It can convey the meaning that you want to say. However, if you go the other way around from Japanese to the other language, now o genki desu ka is in essence the more accurate translation for this will have to be is how are you, or are you well, or sehat tak, more than apa khabar. But you really have to look at the situation to know which one will be more appropriate for it. And as we know, there are some terms in some languages that we just can't translate or interpret, so it's really up to the interpreter's experience and skill to be able to convey what's its meaning in that certain context itself. One thing that I think people misunderstand about language is they always think that it's there, that it's always with you, but that's not exactly true, because if you do not use the language, it will go away. It is rusty. It's like a pencil that you need to sharpen all the time. You lose words, you lose vocabulary, and that's why if you know more than 2 languages, you know more than 3 languages, you can mix them all up, because when you forget one word from the other language, you just use these other words. But you can't do that when you are an interpreter or translator, because you need to know the words exactly in each and every language. Then only you can, you can't mix them up unless that person knows all 3 languages as well, right? So you need to always practice it. And this is also important because if you're not used to it, then you'll end up making very rookie mistakes, especially when it comes to the SVO, SOV sequence that I stated earlier, which is something that happens with me all the time. In my part-time job, I usually use consecutive interpreting, which mainly means that the person will say one thing and then I will interpret it, and they say nothing and then I interpret it. So short sentence, short sentences, not really like long, just little bite sized. And when I do this, I usually you need a good pen. You really need a good pen that can really write really fast and take all the notes that you need. So you need the points that you're going to interpret. And sometimes I don't even look up because I'm really just like I said, you're just like a machine. You're like the middleman, and the information just goes into your brain, and then you're just saying it. And sometimes when you are so focused on saying it and you're not making eye contact and you're not looking because you're just focusing on your translating, you can end up making a lot of rookie mistakes. その日何を食べましたか? Hari itu awak makan apa?
Makan nasi.
美味しいですか? Sedap tak?
Boleh lah.
その食品はどこから得られましたか? Makanan tu dapat dari mana?
Tak tahu.
食べた食品は同変であることが知らないですか? Benda yang awak makan tu barang curi, awak tak tahu ke tak?
Hah?
But regardless, even if you make mistakes, the most important part is to fix it and facilitate the communication between the two parties. I know what it's like to just let it go and just like, oh, you know, they don't understand what I'm saying, or I can't do anything. But that's really not the responsible thing to do. Take your time and always be transparent with the two people that you are translating or interpreting with. That's important too, because when you are talking to another person in another language that they don't understand, usually, I think there was an article that said this about it, where it sounds like noise to them. It doesn't sound nice. Noise to them. So it's always good to always give confirmation and give assurance that, hey, right now I'm telling them this, okay? And then explain. So yeah, those are some of my little experiences of being a interpreter or translator here in Japan. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Slightly different from the normal academic things, but yeah, just something different, I guess. Okay, so hope you guys are doing well. Stay safe at home and hope to see you in the next video. Assalamualaikum.